Rise. We sat in silence and watched. At first, it was a smudge of orange on the horizon, the entire sky still dark. The color grew and expanded, pulling the red from the rocks below into the sky. The bright streak hung directly over the LaSalle Mountains, the rest of the sky slowly turning its usual blue. It seemed to take forever, until finally the color concentrated. It was almost time. A few rays shot up, beacons of the sun soon to arrive. A few more aching minutes, and then the brilliant ball of light began to peak over the mountaintops. The entire time I had been waiting for the sun to rise, and now that it was here, it was too bright to look at. Nature out of balance. The idea of equilibrium in nature is often preached by conservationists and environmentalists. They say that if we just leave nature alone, it will find its balance again. Unfortunately, our climate is no longer balanced. The climate has been changed, and skirting around the issue will only prolong the damage. In order to salvage what we can of the natural world, a strong pro-management stand needs to be taken on conservation. John Wick, president of the Marin Carbon Project, lives on a sprawling ranch, and when he first moved in, he considered himself a leave-it-alone environmentalist. Keeping with this mindset, the first thing John did was kick the cattle off his land. John explains the degradation that followed. Quote, "Over the next few years, we watched these beautiful grass-covered hills get coyote bush invasions, and then all these grasslands became weedy, thatchy messes." End quote. When John saw his beautiful grassland becoming unhealthy, he realized that leaving his land alone might not be the natural thing to do. While John thought he was restoring his land to its natural state, he was actually removing a process that had been part of the land forever, ungulate grazing. Since realizing this, John has reintroduced cattle, and with a carefully managed grazing system, has seen drastic improvements in his land. In researching the management-oriented restoration he wanted to pursue, John discovered that grasslands can sequester enormous amounts of atmospheric carbon. Holding up a freshly pulled clump of grass, he marveled that, quote, "This is made out of the thing that is our problem," end quote. John continued optimistically about how we can sequester carbon. Quote, "We have this abundant resource in the atmosphere of something that, if we put beneficially into our soil systems, we can stop climate change. Seems like a pretty good thing," end quote. Also working on restoration in their own backyard are Valere and Joe Austin. The Austins live in southern Arizona on an expansive ranch. Valere describes the ranch when they first arrived. Quote, "When we first came out here, there was no grass on this place that you could really notice, and I remember looking around, and it was just bare," end quote. Valere found that she couldn't be an absentee owner to this place. It needed full-time devotion and care if there were going to be any improvements. The first step the Austins took was to start placing small water catchments on the hills that cover most of their property, as well as larger structures in washes. They put these catchments everywhere the soil was being eroded by water. As a result of the 30-plus years of work the Austins have put into their property, there is now soil buildup and ample grass cover where there used to be constant erosion. While John and the Austins are working on conservation in their own backyards, Kendall Clark, the forest supervisor of the Carson National Forest, is working on a much larger scale. Kendall is bravely stepping forward to make unconventional conservation moves in the Carson, where drought and old age have stressed the aspen population. Beetles, borers, and fungi that used to die off in now non-existent cold winter freezes are also contributing to sudden aspen decline. Sad. Aspen trees grow in large clones, and in order to prevent catastrophic die-offs, they have a backup system, auxin, to ensure their safety. Auxin involves a chemical reaction within the roots of the clone, letting it know it should send up fresh shoots after large-scale die-off. Unfortunately, auxin has to be triggered by a ground-webing event, such as an avalanche or landslide. SAD is not drastic enough to set off the chemical reaction. Because of this problem, Kendall is suggesting a proactive style of forest management. Quote, "Reality is, we need to propose as many 40-acre clear cuts as we can get our hands on, because all of our trees are the same age, they're all at the end of their life, and unless the surface is taken off in one fell swoop to kick the auxin into functioning in the clone, we will see no trees at the surface." End quote. This proposal makes most conservationists cringe, and when I first hear her plan, I too am skeptical. But by cutting 40-acre plots, the auxin on these small patches will be triggered and new shoots will grow. Since the clear cuts will be done over many years, the forest will also have a healthy diversity of ages. Active management techniques, like those used by John, the Austins, and Kendall, cannot be forgotten as we attempt to regain a balanced climate. Management is necessary if we intend to fight climate change and restore natural landscapes.